today we're going to be talking about how to preserve your family history, your documents, photographs, scrapbooks, and various things. So I've got several examples of original records here. We have some of the very old tintypes right here. You can tell that these are very old, have started to fade away. And then we have old photographs that are on the cardstock, some that are falling apart, which is how you're going to find them. And one thing that is kind of nice is some of these older ones will actually have the stamp of where they came from. So this is actually the Bennett Art Gallery from Statesboro, and then some of these others have been turned into postcards, and you can see there also the studio that took it. And if you'll notice too, the tape, you never want to use tape on these, but of course that was done so often. And one thing I'll also mention, if you'll notice the gloves I'm wearing, these are natural gloves instead of the white cotton gloves. It's actually recommended now to use these instead of the cotton gloves when you're handling documents and not textile, but paper materials, because they don't transfer the oils and different substances from surface to surface. So these types of gloves make it much easier to feel the texture of the materials that you're holding. They don't rip the materials, and it doesn't transfer things from different places. So here we've got some other examples of originals. And one thing that most people will find are photographs like this, or not photographs, newspapers. So this is a very old newspaper article, and of course it is starting to come apart. The tape has yellowed on it. So things like this, basically what you need to do is digitize it first. That is the very first thing, and then you want to store them properly. So after you have these documents digitized, then you're going to go into the storage. So if you can see over here, we have a variety of sleeves. These are all polyethylene sleeves. They're anywhere from 3 to 7 mil, and that means that the thickness of them, some of them are thin so that you can see through them, and some of them are thicker, but they're more sturdy. And these are very different from your average Ziploc bag, please know that. And they're also very different from just the paper sleeves you might get at an office supply store. So they have 2 double seals, which makes them airtight, waterproof. This would be an example of the 5 mil. You see that it is kind of flimsy. So sometimes if you're putting a large paper document, you'll want a cardstock behind it. This way it will keep it supported. These are acid-free cardstock. So that way any inks or anything that were written on it, they're not transferring, and it's not going to continue to eat through to something else. And these cardstock come in different sizes for all of the sleeves. You'll also notice that I have the plastic paper clips that come in different sizes. If you've ever gone through parents or grandparents or archival files, you'll always see rusted paper clips that can tear documents. You don't want to use metal paper clips or the metal ones the larger ones. If you use these plastic ones, if the document's too big, the worst thing that can happen is it might snap, but it's not going to damage your documents. It's not going to leave a residue. You don't want to use rubber bands. Rubber bands can damage things over time as well, make them yellow. Here we also have book tape. So if you have an old book that certain pages are falling out, this can help with that. So it is also acid-free, and you can order it from Gaylord Archival, which is where all of these materials have come from. Now I'm going to show a few other documents. In here we have some very old annuals. This one from 1922, and I believe that one is 21. So you can see that the binding is coming off. This was held together with string. And again, you would want to digitize this, and then you would want to store it in a box that's an archival box. So these are acid-free. They have metal brackets on the end that keep them supported, and this is acid-free tissue paper. And so ideally, after you have digitized these, you would put the tissue paper between each individual book to keep them divided, and you would store them in a place that is not hot and humid. You want it in basically a controlled temperature room. And because it's in a box with a lid, that's going to keep it in a fairly dark environment. But you don't want to sit your box in a windowsill because that can, of course, raise the temperature. But this will help preserve and make your records last longer. These are some examples of original indentures. And so you see here that they are on acid-free backing. Some of these were actually purchased and bought quite some time ago. They come in all different shapes and sizes, and so they don't always fit in the sleeves. So what we've done for these, they are each individually on cardstock, and then we put them in a large folder. So this keeps them flat, and they go in another box that's flat, keeps them flat, keeps them stored safely and in a dark environment. And then something very common that most people come across are either photo albums or scrapbooks. So this is an example of a Georgia Teachers College scrapbook that is coming apart quite badly. You can see here that the book itself, nothing is keeping the pages together any longer. But this has many original pages to it. So once again, many people would ask what to do to fix this. And in all honesty, there's not much to do to fix the entire book. The best thing to do is digitize each individual page, each record. Make sure you document what page is what. And this is wonderful. It has original documents that can be unfolded. It has letters, but some of them you can tell the pages have come out. It has photographs, all kinds of things. But once you have digitized this and basically made a digital file, a folder with it, with all of the individuals, once again, you're going to wrap this in acid-free tissue paper. You're going to get a box that is the correct size for it and store it in the proper environment. So that way you can let other generations and others see it rarely, but you can still look at all of the individual images digitally. But you want to keep it in that controlled environment for as long as possible. Here you see it even has pressed flowers in here, but you want to handle it as little as possible. And so this is why I'm wearing these gloves. And whenever you have old books, scrapbooks or anything, especially with the 3-ring binders, the metal ones, always make sure when you close those that you have straightened things, because a lot of the old ones that are round and not the D-ring, when you close it, it will bend the back pages. So always make sure whenever you close books like this that all of the pages are straight. And because most of those older books have just the round ring, it pushes out the middle pages, and that's one reason they get so frayed on the outside. And you can tell how yellowed they are, which is going to happen with time. So again, digitize and then store them properly. If you do have individual pages that were once glued or taped in here that have come out, then you can put them in acid-free sleeves or even folders, and then put this in the box with the book. So that way everything is still staying together, but it's properly stored. And once again, all of the archival materials have come from Gaylord Archival. This is also a guide to collection care, which can be found through the library's Facebook page. So we'll be able to show that as well. And if you have any questions, you can email me, and I'm sure Dr. Tharp, who's the director of the Georgia Southern Museum, can also answer some questions.